Well, change is happening at the moment at a pace that we just can't even get our heads around.
Welcome to the Attollo Conversations with me, Michael Heyman, the interview series shedding light on technology, disruption and what's next for the energy industry. If you're interested in taking on tradition, then this is the series for you. I'll be speaking with groundbreaking entrepreneurs, innovators and leaders. We'll gain their insights and opinions on change and how to make the most of it. My guest today is Priya Guha. She is the former British Consul General to San Francisco, and today she's the Ecosystems GM at Rocket Space in the UK, the San Francisco HQ company that helps tech entrepreneurs, high-growth startups and corporate innovators bring the future to the market. Priya, welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
I've been looking at the marketing blurb, to boldly go. You've taken on the Star Trek message about the future. This is all about change, isn't it? Boldly going. How much change is coming in the world of tech right now?
Well, change is happening at the moment at a pace that we just can't even get our heads around. If you think about the companies that are in existence today, the Apples, the Googles, the Amazons, they just weren't around a few decades ago. And equally, the companies that were around 100 years ago, the ones that have founded the modern economy, are starting to feel no longer relevant. So the pace of disruption, the pace of change is huge. If you think about the next generations, our kids' generations, the technologies that will define their future aren't even invented yet.
Is this just a world, though, for young, new companies, or is there a place still for large corporations, companies that have been around, as you say, for generations? What's their part in this story?
Well, I absolutely believe that those large companies can continue to define the future of innovation, but they have to be open to innovation. They have to be willing to look at what's happening in the world around them, to partner with new, innovative, disruptive companies, to invest in new, innovative, disruptive companies.
Now, one of the things that you specialise in at Rocket Space is corporate innovation. Give us a sense of the attitude, the behaviours of a good corporate in this space.
Well, I think the key things are really for the corporate from the leadership down. And I say from the leadership down because it doesn't just take one or two people to drive innovation. It takes a whole organisation, the middle management, the new young recruits, and of course the C-suite. Once they're bought into the concept of innovation and that innovation is given a role, a key role in driving the future of the business, actually you can have an organisation that is both an established player in the market but also forward-looking.
Now, some of the businesses that you work with, they've gone from being kind of, if you like, businesses that specialise in old technologies, the old economy, they're becoming new in terms of what they're having to do. What's the kind of the process of change that the people working within it have to go through?
Well, I think, the people within the organisation have to recognise that the future will be defined by technologies that won't necessarily emerge from their own R&D. In some ways, it's about outsourcing your R&D function. It's about thinking who else is out there in the market that's doing something interesting that might define the future of my industry.
So you don't own everything, you can cooperate.
Exactly, you can cooperate and you can also invest. I think corporate venture capital is going to be a really key part of that relationship between larger companies and smaller companies coming through the market.
Now, a lot of people working in oil and gas and in renewables, they'll be thinking about this process of change and about how they adopt it and how they make the most of it. What are the big steps that you can take, apart from obviously working with Rocket Space?
Well, I think it's really being very externally facing. Having key people in your organisation focused on understanding what are the new technologies coming out, what are the new technologies that may both appear relevant and the ones that might not necessarily appear so relevant to that field of oil and gas.
So there's a commitment to innovation, right?
An absolute commitment to innovation, and a commitment in terms of resource and a commitment in terms of time and bandwidth of your key staff.
But if you're sort of like a business that's sort of, been doing things the same way for an awfully long time, and you're thinking about the future and how to adopt this kind of innovative culture, this culture based on change, what are the sort of the things you might start to think about, things you might want to do to actually be successful at that?
Well, I think there's two key things. There's one about giving the organisation a very sort of visible commitment that this is the path for you, for your future as a large company. Secondly, it's about an appetite for risk and being able to bring in a concept of risk into your organisation so that someone who does innovate and tries something different, and perhaps it doesn't work out, isn't then going to be punished for it in the way that your system's set up.
Now, you spent a number of years as Consul General in San Francisco. I mean, when we think about the future, a lot of people point to Silicon Valley. Is it as good as they say it is?
Silicon Valley is an incredible place. It's an incredible place because it really was the heart of thinking about innovation, because you've both got that real strong history of government investment in R&D. You've got the capital, you've got the venture capital industry that sprung up around Sand Hill Road. And then you've also got the innovative companies that have spun out of amazing academic institutions like Stanford or Berkeley. What that has created is really a hotbed for innovation. But Silicon Valley is no longer the exclusive place for that innovation to happen. And I think you see that happening all over the world, particularly here in the UK.
And a final message to people back in the UK. Bright future for innovators here in Britain?
Absolutely. I think the UK has some of the amazing constituting factors for innovation. You've got incredible world-class higher education institutions. You've got a great business culture. You've got amazing traditional industries that are willing and able and leading innovation. So I think the future is really bright here in the UK.
Priya Guha, thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Great insights there from Priya. Her message: look to the future and move fast. It's that collaboration, not conflict, between young and established firms is the way forward. But you also need to look to unusual suspects for sources of innovation. And that's the key to the dividends of the future. I'll see you for the next Attollo Conversation.